Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another episode of That Scuffed Up. Today is episode 27, coming right at you. This is our long-expected, super duper, inflated, big, exaggerated, long episode that we most likely will ever have in the history of That Scuffed Up. My partner, Stephen Hayden, on the other side. How are we doing today?
Yeah, we got a lot going on today. You know, probably our biggest episode so far. Got a lot to cover. Got some groundbreaking stuff to cover outside of OC football, and obviously, you know, we just had this past week here, getting stuff set up for the playoffs. You know, I'm doing better than I was that last podcast, that's for sure. But still not quite there. But you know, we get through. I was able to survive the first week of baseball practice, so I'm doing all right here.
Good to hear. We love it when Steven is in good shape, good health, especially around this time. We're definitely going to need it. If you're the LA Whistler OC, that's for sure. Few things. Let's talk about what we're going to be talking about in this podcast specifically. We'll go over week 9 stuff.
That just sounded funny, sorry. Oh yeah, first thing we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about. Keep going.
First, we're going to talk about what we're talking about. So the things that we're talking about... Okay, I'm done. Anyways, so we'll talk about week 9, and then we'll give you the whole playoff picture as in a whole. We'll talk about our predictions for Purple League, Division 2, and Division 1. We will have special guest Ryan Lavelle giving us a report from Division 2 later today, and we will also have DII Standings on the show as well. So we have a pretty big lineup of content that we will be sharing with each and every single one of our audience members here today on episode 27, biggest episode right around the corner. So let's dive right into it, shall we? Okay. Okay, let's get into week 9 stuff. So we'll obviously our usual structure is we talk about Division 1, then Division 2, then Purple League. So let's start off with the Trash Pandas versus the Avocabros. This is a fight for the cup. They're fighting for playoff spots and seeding. So Trash Pandas taking Avocabros. Trash Pandas huge win over the Avocabros. 19-8 was the final score in this game. Let's talk about this one a little bit.
Yeah, a little disclaimer before, as of recording, we don't have the stats for week 9. We don't have the finalized stats for the season. We were hoping they would be out by the previous night, but they're still not up right now as we recording this. So when we talk about stats, we're into the stats that are from the week 8 stats that are updated on October 8th, I believe it was. If I look at the stats correctly, yes, it's last updated October 6th. So that's what we're referring to when we do our award winners later on. We will talk our predictions and stuff. We will talk about that. But this game, our Trash Pandas got started right away, hitting the ball, hitting a lot of home runs, getting a lot of home runs early on the board. Avocabros were in a hole, just unable to get themselves out. We're able to get some runs across, but this is a game that could have put the Avocabros in the potentially in that 4 seed there to give them the home advantage in the wild card game. But Trash Pandas take this one. They make their way up to 5-6. Still got one more game to play. We'll see how that. I'll talk about that one in just a minute. But Trash Pandas get a big 19-8 victory here to lead things off in Division 1.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, like this was a battle for playoff seeding, especially. So this kind of helped determine which teams would be playing who. So as we get into this next game, unfortunately for Avocabros, they do fall into the 5th seed. But we'll talk about their team a little bit more specifically later on. But it's an interesting anomaly that we have with the Avocabros because of the way that they play out their games. But definitely needed this win, but unfortunately fell to the Trash Pandas in an enormously huge way. So this was a very interesting game to say nonetheless.
Yeah, you know, I if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong on this. I'll try to look this up when you're talking next. But I believe the Trash Pandas have beaten the Avocabros both times, and now those teams will play each other. We'll see if anything different happens in the playoffs. But for this game, just Trash Pandas had all the bats going. There were a lot of walks in this game, a lot of patient hitting. but the Trash Pandas just were able to jump at that top of the first inning and get those runs that they needed to secure themselves the lead. And then from there, they took control of it and were able to get a good needed victory. They needed at least one of these victories to get themselves secured in that 4 or 5 spot, and they were able to do so here.
That's 100% for sure. Well, okay. Moving on now to the next game for the Trash Pandas, taking on the MS Warriors. MS Warriors, who a week ago took the 1 seed, so this was important for them to at least secure that spot, to say nonetheless, in that top seed. But playing against Trash Pandas, MS Warriors do come through with a shutout against the Trash Pandas. So MS Warriors come away with an interesting win, 2-0. This was a pretty close game with low scoring numbers in this.
Yeah, I will go back to that previous point I was looking up here. The Trash Pandas did play the Avocarbos in week 4 on September 5th, and that was a Trash Pandas victory as well. That was a 21-4 victory. So we'll see if that affects. I will talk about the implications with that later on, but just wanted to get that in there while I had it on my mind. Yeah, MS Warriors Trash Pandas this was a very much a playoff atmosphere game. This game ended up going to 9 innings. No runs scored until a 2-run home run by Dylan Hoffman in the 9th inning to end the game. Both teams were on the very end of their second pitchers' innings available. So if it went to the 10th inning, things might have gotten a little dicey for both teams, especially for the MS Warriors, who really this year have only had Dylan Hoffman and Shane Hendrickson as the pitchers for them. It could have been interesting to see what would have happened if someone like Garrett Munoz or Nathan Beckley were to pitch, because they'd have no recorded innings on the roster this year. So a very close game overall. Some balls were put in play, but some good defense. So both these teams are on the younger side and able to move and get to the ball a little quicker. But ninth inning, captain came up clutch for them, and the MS Warriors are trying to keep that 1 seed through that playoff, see if they can clinch that number 1 overall spot. This victory was a good way for them to get that started here with a hard fought victory over the Trash Pandas.
That's certainly to say the less. So it's a great thing for the Trash Pandas to actually secure a great spot for themselves. This kind of was playing spoiler for the most part in terms of the seeding, because MS Warriors already hold the first round bye in the Division I playoffs. But if they wanted to hold on to that number 1 seed, this was important for them to get this victory to secure that 1 seed. But once we get to the next game that they play eventually on the day, it's a different story once we get to that part.
Yeah, this with this game it was a very good game to watch. I was watching this as it was ending because it was taking up some time a little bit. But very very good game to watch. 2 very good teams. That could be a potential World Series matchup. We'll talk about that later, but interesting stuff to see from both teams. Both teams were competitive, having fun with each other, just figuring out a way to win. MS Warriors a little quiet on the bats, but able to get the 1 hit when needed. If
I'm not mistaken, this game went a total of 9 innings, right?
Yeah. It did go 9 innings. The different extra inning rules went into effect here. The guys were starting with a runner on 3rd and 1 out. So eventually, through the 8th and 9th innings. So that's what happened in this one. That's how they ended up getting the 2-run home, making it a 2-0 victory for the MS Warriors.
Yeah, I was going to say, because they walked up to me while we were playing our game, and I saw that sheet from the Trash Man. They said, "This is a heck of a game." I said, I just saw the added zeros that they had at the end of 6 on there. I was like, wow, that's a full game, like baseball term-wise. So it was pretty crazy to see 9 innings in total, but congrats to MS Warriors to getting that win, though. That's for sure. All right, moving on to the next game is actually one of the continued games that we had from a week ago. It was meant to be played last week. Didn't get to it, so they did it for this week. This was the OC Wiffles of LA taking on Beach City Bombers. OC Wiffles of LA, obviously, we're out of the playoff picture already, but, to finish the season out strong, they definitely wanted to get at least another win to finish off the season the way they want to. And that's exactly what they did. They won 11-5 against the Beach City Bombers in this continuation game. So great win for OC Wolves of LA to at least get another win on themselves and play a little bit of spoiler and setting up for what's going to come after this game.
Yeah, this game was 5-5 going into extras, I believe. Tyler Moore was out of innings, and Zach Moore wasn't at this game, so I don't think he played in the continuation. I could be wrong, but OC Wolves of LA able to get some more runs across and able to shut things down on the mound. So, good to see the OC Wolves getting another win here. Beach City Bombers missed out on a chance to kind of secure themselves into the playoff spot, but they got another game to do so, which we'll talk about in just a minute. But to the OC Wolves of LA, appreciate you having coming out here, playing hard each week. Didn't have a whole lot of success on the win column, but you guys were very much in every single game, and appreciate you coming out here. And we'll kind of do something like that for each team that did come out here for each season that's now eliminated. So. Beach City Bombers, you still got a chance. We'll see in the next game, but OC Wolves of LA get to end this one and get at least another win. Make yourselves 2-9. At this point, it's still a game to play, but appreciate you guys coming out.
Absolutely. My brother was on that team, so it looked like they were having a lot of fun. Obviously, they were in games for a big chunk of the games that they had this season. Just weren't able to get over the hump in a lot of those games, and that's what matters in this league, is really just getting those wins in, especially for Division 1 now, it's completely competitive, but getting those wins, your run differential may be like super duper low, but if you're getting wins, then you're probably good enough to make it through to the playoff picture.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're also missing a guy. We'll talk more about that later, but they're missing a guy that could have made a difference for them. So who knows what things will look like for them next season if that's the same team. But for now, Beach City Bombers got another game they got to play to try to secure themselves a playoff spot.
Yeah, so let's get into it now. The game that I was mentioning before, setting up this one, the Beach City Bombers versus Shepherd's Pie. After taking that loss, Beach City Bombers are looking to maintain that spot in the standings, hold on to the 6th seed. Shepherd's Pie are fighting to basically get into the playoffs. So this game was important for both of these teams. So if you're a guy who's really closely watching the playoff picture, this was the one that you wanted to take a look at. Beach City Bombers do secure the 6th seed in the playoff standings, and Shepherd's Pie get eliminated in this game. 8-1 was the final score.
Yeah, the biggest thing from this one was kind of the return of Zach Moore coming out for the Beach City Bombers. We had heard and seen that he had not been here for a while. We had heard he was going to be out for the rest of the season. Who knows about the winter season? But he was out here this week, and we'll see if he's out here for the playoffs. That can make a huge difference for them. Able to get a little bit of a spark behind them, both offensively and pitching wise. Able to limit Shepherd's Pie to 1 run, who had just scored a bunch of runs the previous week off of for a team like the MS Warriors. But 8-1 victory. Beach City Bombers able to get the job done here. We will see the defending champions in the playoffs. They got a tough first matchup. We'll talk about later, but for now they finish off the season 4-8 and make their way into the playoffs.
Yeah, a little bit of a lopsided season that they've had this year, but they've managed to figure out ways to win late, and especially not having Zach Moore there, it's been also a challenge for them to really get through and get some wins. But now that he's back, and in a surprising way, that could potentially be dangerous for teams who are going to be playing the Beach City Bombers, because we know that they have been down before, and they have won games and really have come from behind. They're reigning champs of summer 2023, so expect them to be really going after teams and defending the title that they won back in summer 2023 for this season.
Yeah, it's never over. It's never over for them. I know they have the competitive spirit, and they have the experience from this last season. They haven't had the best quality ones. They did have a win in week 2 against the Trash Pandas once they shut out the Trash Pandas at the Huntington Beach Sports Complex, which that feels so long ago. The fact that we started our season at the Huntington Beach Sports Complex compared to where we are right now, but overall, we'll see what things go with the Beach City Bombers. We'll talk about their playoff stuff afterward to talk about all these games. But for Shepherd's Pie, you appreciate you guys coming out there. We'll obviously see a lot more Anthony out there, as he'll be he's the one organizing all this and setting and getting things set up and things like that. But we saw some good stuff this year pitching wise from Evan White, new lefty pitcher out there, give people a different look. Hitting wise, Anthony did have a 394 average. The team overall didn't have the best average, but who knows what could happen for next season. We appreciate you having you guys out there. We'll see how the roster looks for next year. We'll see if anything changes at all.
Yeah, we know Anthony has a couple different looking teams every single season that he plays here. Obviously, he's the big commissioner and the organizer of these games, so we appreciate him always being there, because whenever he's playing, it's a pretty competitive aspect, but obviously the goal is to have fun for the most part. So really looking forward to what they're going to bring next season, and see what they've got.
Yep.
All right, well, let me talk about these next two games in a way. Obviously, we'll get to our game in just a second, but I want to set up the kind of picture that we're talking about here. So, Purple Huskies who lost against MS Warriors and lost that number 1 seed as we're talking about this right now. So, they needed to win against OC Wolves LA's, and they needed a little bit of help. Same thing with the MS Warriors. They need a little bit of help if they wanted to hold on to where they were. So we'll talk about Purple Huskies and OC Wolves of LA, which I'll talk about right now. So Purple Huskies, if they wanted to take the 1 seed, this is the game that they wanted to try to capture. Obviously, at the same time as the MS Warriors are taking on the LA Wolves of OC, Purple Huskies taking on OC Wolves of LA, take the victory, put on the shutout, finish off on a strong note over the OC Wolves of LA, 5-0 the final score.
Yeah, pretty low scoring game for what you would kind of expect from the Purple Huskies. But James Lee pitching well out there, put himself in the MVP discussion, definitely in the Rookie of the Year discussion for sure, for the OC Wolves of LA. But Purple Huskies, they went out there, got the job done, finished with a great regular season record, 11-1. Some great stuff overall, especially get a little bit of a new look team and a couple guys over from the MS Warriors. You lose Shaden, you bring in Kyle Froome and Joey Ponder. We'll see how things go in the playoffs for them. They're trying to secure that. The MS Warriors going into this week, they were in control of their own destiny. If they won their games, they're the 1 seed. Purple Huskies need them to lose one of their games if they want to get the 1 seed. So they did their job here, and they're going to hope the other Wolves of OC now are able to help them out and give them that 1 seed. But Purple Huskies are a very dangerous team. And we'll see how things shake out as we go into the playoffs. We'll help determine their playoff standing in just a bit here.
Yeah, definitely. We'll talk about them more in depth once we get into our predictions and how their team kind of shapes out, and obviously all the other teams that are in those standings. The other game I do want to talk about is our game, which is what we're going to get to. So, in this case, MS Warriors, if they wanted to hold on to the 1 seed, they needed to win this game, obviously, and they did need a little bit of help. Even if Purple Huskies won against OC Wolves of LA and MS Warriors did end up winning, MS Warriors did have the tiebreaker, so they would have held on to the 1 seed no matter what. But we know MS Warriors and LA Wolves of OC, the history between these two teams, a great rivalry between Dylan Hoffman and Stephen Hayden. That's 100% for sure. This was an interesting game, not just because the LA Wolves of OC won and knocking MS Warriors back down to the 2 seed, but just the fact that it wasn't only Stephen Hayden doing a big majority of the work. Yes, he was doing the pitching, but it was really the bats that started rolling, and that's what we've been talking about for a while now, with Dylan Menier, myself, and Jordan Drexler really started getting things going in this game. The final score, 13-4 against the MS Warriors.
Yeah, it ended up being a little bit of a lopsided result. It was definitely not a lopsided game. And this one kind of this one's the result of the result of the week and the surprise of the week. So we'll go into this one a little bit more depth, especially since we were players in this one. Right away, Dylan Hoffman steps up with a solo home run to start off the game, which I maybe should have been caught, but we won't talk about that too much. and right away, they're getting off to a little bit of a lead, and then they got a 3-0 lead in the fourth inning, and then Dill Menchie steps up with the third inning, I should say. Dill Menchie steps up with a grand slam to make it a 4-3 game. Dylan Hoffman came right back. I believe he had 3 home runs in this game, two of which were drops, but maybe they'll see need to work on their defense. But especially Dylan Menchie should be a college outfielder, but whatever. Dylan hit his 3rd home run of the game, making a 4-4 game. And then after that point, we'll see really started hitting. Got some big production. Justin Lee had his best night of the night. Dylan Menchie had both of those guys had two home runs each to their name. Jordan Dressler added a home run late. Actually, I probably had the worst hitting night on the team, but it was good. I was just missing a lot of stuff, and it was good to see us get some support. Because if you look at these averages, it's a big jump from where I'm at 550 to the next guy. Who was there? It was actually Dylan as our 3rd best average on our team with a 304 batting average. So it's a big jump. It was good to see some production. It's a good sign for the LOC as they go to the playoffs. MS Warriors lose the 1 seed. They end up as the 2 seed. So they'll be playing the winner of either of the 3-6 matchup, which could spell a rematch for of these two teams again. So. These two teams ended up splitting the series during the year. First game, I believe it was a 9-4 victory, somewhere along those lines. But LOC blew that game, in my opinion. And then this game, MS Warriors did blow this game a little bit, but then LOC did take control of it. So that's how this one ends, 13-4. Steven pitched well on the mound after coming back from York, Pennsylvania. Had to relearn how to throw and pitch in this league again, going from real fast pitch to slower speeds. And Jordan Dressler did good on the mound as well, keeping guys off balance. And we'll see how effective that is going into the playoffs for these two teams.
I think it's always a good sign when you're talking about a team who has some issues with the players on their team, the support guys, and then you have the really, really talented individuals like Steven himself. I'm not trying to compare too many comparisons, but when you're able to start playing good ball towards the end of the season, when you're getting right around to that playoff time, I think it's a great sign for a team, especially when they've been struggling so much, and then now they're starting to pick things up, and you take that momentum and you really ride that through into the playoffs. And I'll talk about it a little bit more in depth of kind of the reasons why, but this is just one of those examples of just great playing towards the end, really getting into that playoff groove, and that's exactly what you need if you're trying to win games in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, we saw from the LOC in the spring season. The last week of the season, they won 3 regular season games in the same day, including a 4-5 matchup, which ended up considering them the 4 seed, which ended up being a big advantage for them in that first game of the playoffs. But and we'll see if this is a similar thing here. There will be no Greg Gualtieri for the playoffs. He is out of the state actually. But Dustin Staggs will be coming back. We beat the MS Warriors last week without Dustin Staggs there, who will get some innings on the mound and will be a big contributor at the plate as well, I'm sure. It's kind of weird. Like the LOC have been able to hit the Purple Huskies and the MS Warriors pitching well, and that's what you kind of get with these top 3 teams is a battle of guys who have seen each other a good amount and are now starting to catch up on the hitting side, whereas before the pitching was pretty dominant from each of these teams in the past. So we'll see how things play out in the playoffs. Two of these teams will have to play each other. Could be you have to play both these top 3 teams. Will have to play each other. So we'll see what happens as we go into the playoffs. But for this game, it was a big statement by the Louisville Live. We'll see if they're able to continue that over. Not Louisville C don't have the best numbers on hitting wise. Apart from you look at Stephen Hayden with a guy with a 550 average and a 640 on a base percentage. I think my average will drop a little bit as we go to these last stats, but it's still good, very easily going to lead the league in average and on base percentage. So we'll see how things shake out as we go into the playoffs. But MS Warriors, maybe it might be a little worrying for them. I don't think they're too concerned about stuff. I think they're seeing it as more as an unlucky game. But it was good to see a battle between two top MVP candidates in Steven and Shaden. And while Shaden did very well, Steven's team was able to get the win.
Yeah, they were also without Matt Hornch in this game too, so they're probably missing him just a little bit with the extra hard-hitting bat on up there, and then also the pitching. Obviously, they don't really rely too much on Matt Hornich with the pitching, but it's just an extra arm if you need it there. But they definitely were missing him. But it was also an interesting sign because at the same time, Eliwosa Osi were also missing Dustin Staggs, who has been a pretty productive pitcher when he comes into games. So having him in the playoffs will be very interesting to say the least. Just have him there, and then obviously the amount of talent that he's got. But it's great because Eliwosa Osi were able to get away with a win even without like that secondary pitcher that they have been relying on throughout the season. So, and obviously we'll talk about it way more in depth once we get to the standings.
Yeah, and Jordan stepped up these past few weeks as well. I know he's been little frustrated about not pitching as much. At one point I had like 20 innings pitched and he had 5 or something along those lines, but he's caught up in the innings. He's pitched 16 in the third inning so far, second on the team, a couple innings in front of Dustin, but that three-headed monster on the mound of Steven, Jordan, and Dustin could at least make some big noise playoff time. We'll see how Dustin readjusts this style as well, because he's very much invested in the fast pitching, as we'll talk about later on when we talk to him, things like that. So as you can see, we'll see if Justin's going to put up a graphic or not. But as you can see, all the playoff spots are locked, and the Purple Huskies end up taking the 1 seed with an 11-1 record. MS Warriors finished in the 2nd seed after that loss to the Willie Wolves OC with a 10-2 record. In the 3 spot, and it was already clinched, but Willis OC finished the season 8-4 in the 3 spot. Trash Pandas do end up getting that 4 spot off tiebreakers, finishing 5-7 on the year. Little disappointing compared to what they did last year, but we'll see how things shake out for the playoffs this year. Avocados sit in the 5 spot. They're also 5-7. That loss this past week to the Trash Bandits did not help them at all. And at the 6th seed, you have the Beach City Bombers, who finished 4-8 thanks to that last win against the Shepherd's Pie. And the 7th seed, the first team to be eliminated, the team that was closest to making the playoffs but did not, was Shepherd's Pie, who finished 3-9 on the season. And then we talked about this a couple weeks ago how the OC Wolves were eliminated, but they did finish 2-10, able to get a win versus the Trash Pandas and the Beach City Bombers. So when I look at this playoff standings, funny enough, it's the exact 6 teams that made it into the playoffs last year when it was all just one divisions, just in a little bit of a different order. With the Beach City Bombers a little lower this season than they were in the past, and Trash Pandas were a little higher this season than they were in the past. So those are the standings for Division 1. We're going to go back to the Week 9 results and talk about the Division 2 games here, if you want to get us started, Justin.
Yes, absolutely. So, Division 2, who will get a more in-depth look about the playoff picture a little bit later from Ryan Lavelle, who will be here on the show momentarily. But looking at it, we got the Pacific Thrashers taking on Whoosh. Whoosh is already holding on to a playoff spot currently. Pacific Thrashers had an opportunity to play a little spoiler here, but we haven't really seen a whole lot of production out of that team this season. But it'd be nice they're looking for a way to at least get some wins to finish off the season. Unfortunately, that's not what happened in this game. Whoosh come away with not 10s, not 20s, but 35 runs against Pacific Thrashers, beating them 35-6.
Yeah, Whoosh went in there. They took care of business. They were able to secure them. I mean, they were nearly secure in the playoffs last week. They needed a win to make sure were able to do the job, kind of very similar to their week one result versus the Pacific Thrashers, and that was a 34-3 victory for them. For the Pacific Thrashers, we'll talk a little bit more with them a little later as they play a little later, but they've had some games where they've improved a lot and made games close. Just the inexperience and stuff, just not able to quite get over the hump. If there were a most improved player in the league award, it would probably have to go to the to Chad French on the Pacific Thrashers, who week 2 when I played with them, he had never pitched before. Ended up figuring things out, doing pretty well on the mound, and also hitting wise is also improved as well. Had pretty much their best average on their team of the guys that were there for a lot of the seasons. So we'll talk more about them later. But for Woosh, they secured themselves a playoff spot. We'll talk more about that. What that playoff spot is, it depends on some other results. As they went into this week as the 4 seed, we'll see if they're able to move up at all, or whether they will remain the 4 seed.
Yeah, that's definitely for sure, because they're in a position where they can actually topple the 47ers as the standings looked about a week ago. And when I get to this game in just a second, that's what we'll talk about. But Woosh, we know they have like the talent to get through the gap. They had a little bit of a flat hill through the middle of the season, but now they're really starting to kick things into gear. Look at the offensive numbers that they got. I mean, obviously, like 35 runs is an insane number that they have, but they had like the second most, the second highest run differential at 53, just behind the OC Seal. So like they're definitely going to be extremely dangerous to play against in the playoffs, as we mentioned. But when we talk about Wiffle D's in just a second, I mean, they're also dangerous in themselves because a lot of these teams play each other repeatedly because there's not a whole lot of teams compared to Division 1. So they play each other a little bit more often than if you were in Division 1. So they can learn from those games, playing off of each other and translate that into playoff play. So it's interesting once we get to the playoff picture how insane they might get once we get to the playoffs here on Monday.
Yeah. Well, and Woosh has the experience. They've been in the league for a while. Some of the guys started off in the original Woosh team back in the spring of 2022. Then I had a good number of these guys play with my team, the OSC, in the spring and fall of 2022 before they officially all left and went back to Woosh. Which I still need some compensation for in terms of draft picks or money or something. I need something, Donald, or else you're gonna remain my LWC Division 2 team. They could be a very dangerous team in the playoffs, and so they also just missed out on making the playoffs last year. So we'll see how things shake out for them. What seed they'll end up as.
I think you're gonna have to send a fat email to Ryan and Anthony about getting some compensation about that later.
Yeah, I might need something. I might need some. I might need some. Kind of very similar to a Ryan Cratch trade in MLW where the Eagles gave him up to the Predators for nothing. So I'd need to. Except I lost a bunch of guys, so I might have to hash out some business.
You got Monday to figure those things out later. So I guess if you see them,
maybe claim some players back. Who knows? Maybe who knows what the LWC roster look like next year? But this is not a LWC discussion. Would be interesting to see how Woosh does going into these playoffs.
100%. So in order for them to get into a higher seeding, they needed a little bit of help. And as I get to the next game, Wiffle D's against the 47ers, this was also a fight for some playoff seeding, potentially between these teams. If 47ers won this game, Wiffle D's, there probably would have been a small chance that seeding switch, but Wiffle D's get this win against the 47ers. This helps Whoosh get into the 3rd seed, and 47ers put themselves in the 4th seed, so they'll have different matchups than what we expected them to have a week ago. But Wiffle D's hold on to secure that 2nd seed and get themselves in a great position with the advantage.
Yeah, big win here for Wiffle D's, 16-6 victory. Another good size margin for them. Wiffle D's already secured a playoff spot. They officially secured that number 2 seed, so they will have they will be the home team to start off, and for game 1 and game 3 of the semifinals. And if they would make the World Series and the 4 seed would make the World Series, and they would be the home team. So that's good for them. Big victory there. 47ers do fall to 6-6, making them the 4 seed. It puts them in an interesting situation as the 4 seed, because they're a very, very underrated 4 seed, as we'll talk about later as we go more into Division 2. But interesting to see what things will happen with these teams. Both teams able to score a good amount of runs. Not quite as many overall in the season as the OC Seals and Whoosh. But both teams able to put up runs and hold teams. So we'll see how things shake out as we finish off these standings here.
Absolutely. Moving on to the Pacific Thrashers and OC Seals game. We'll talk about this one a little bit later because it might be a small indicator of maybe some early trouble as we get to the playoffs with the OC Seals. Pacific Thrashers very close to going over the OC Seals in this game. 9-7 was the final score. Very interesting numbers to see between these two teams.
Yeah, and a much different result than the first game the Pacific Thrashers played. At the beginning of the season, they had some troubles figuring some stuff out, getting used to the style of play, but they started figuring things out. Not able to get that victory with that mark in the win column, but played some pretty close games, kept the Seals pretty close. And so, a lot of for guys like Chad French. So we appreciate you guys coming out here. Hopefully you guys figure out a way, whether it be as this team or as on different teams, you guys continue to come out and play in the league and things like that. So we will see what happens with that. But for this game, that's a very close game. This one does secure the OC Seals as the number 1 seed, so they do finish first place in the regular season as Division 2. They have home field advantage throughout the playoffs if they make it. And a little bit concerning to see in a 9-7 game here, but maybe they got another game. We'll see if they're able to bounce back. Yeah,
we'll have Ryan here later, so he'll probably talk about this one a little bit as well once he gets here on the show. But the next game that they've got was against the Bad News Dingers. I don't know what the tiebreaker situation with the Bad News Dingers was, but there was a very small chance that if the 47ers, if Bad News Dingers won against OC Seals, maybe they would switch, but I don't know what the tiebreaker situation was for those teams. But OC Seals, also kind of troubling. I'm not sure what kind of indicator you want to put this one on, but the most important thing is that you get wins, and that's exactly what OC Seals do. Finish off the season with a victory against the Bad News Dingers. Unfortunately, Joe Reese's team does not make it this time.
Yeah, and Bad News Dingers are a good team. They've held teams to not too many runs. They actually have the 3rd least runs allowed in Division 2, just behind the OC Seals and Wiffle D's. Just Bad News Dingers just not able to get the offense going in this game. That's kind of a thing we've seen. Sometimes they'll have the bats going, but then they'll give up the runs, and sometimes they'll be able to limit teams to very few runs, and they just won't get the bats going. So it's just a combination of things. Sometimes they'll get both going and able to come out with a big victory. But the first time we saw these two teams play, the OC Seals and Bad News Dingers, it was a very close game. OC Seals had an 11-run comeback, if I'm not mistaken, to win the game 18-16. So very different results, but it's still very similar close game. As we see here, 3-0 victory. A win is a win. Able to get a shutout. Getting a shutout is always great for the Seals. But we'll see how much that affects them. They've been a little bit of a downslide these past few weeks, and we'll see if that affects them at all for these playoffs.
Very interesting numbers, to say the least. But thank you, Bad News Dingers, for being here this season. I know you used to mention it earlier. Joey Reese does still have a chance to win something at the golf tournament. And if you guys haven't signed up for that, it's still available. I thought I'd just throw that little plug in there.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what when the golf tournament is going on. I'm trying to take a look at it right now, but you still have the golf tournament going on at the Strawberry Farms course, if I'm not mistaken. It was something along those. It was something strawberry. I'm trying. The computer doesn't want to load. It doesn't want to. Info. Yeah, it's at. It's on October 22nd. It's a Sunday at 10 a.m. at the Strawberry Farms Golf Club is when the tournament is taking place. So, a little bit nicer course. Joe Reese has won 2 of those there. Like he said, we appreciate having you guys out here. Always continue to come out and support and play well. And we hopefully continue to see you guys through these next few seasons. But with that, Division 2 is over. We can get into the standings here. The final standings for Division 2. OC Seals finish on top with a 10-2 record. In second place, you have Wiffle D's finishing off with an 8-4 record. In third place, you have Wiffle D. We have Whoosh, or Ellisville C Division 2 team, finishing with a 7-5 record, with a lot of runs scored, most runs scored in the league. It's interesting. In fourth place, you have the 47ers getting into that fourth spot in the final spot in the playoffs, with a 6-6 record as a new team. In the fifth spot, you have the Bad News Dingers, just miss out on the playoffs with a 5-7 record. And the Pacific Thrashers finish off with an 0-12 record. Could have easily been a few wins in there, but we'll see how things continue for them in the future. But those are the standings, and now we'll get into the 3 Purple League games to talk about the Purple League standings.
Yeah, not too much to really talk about for the most part because obviously they are a fun league, but always fun to just see like what's going on in terms of the Purple League. So first off, we got the Sheeps versus Wiffle Does. This was actually a very close game if you're paying attention to the Purple League. 15-14 was the final score. Wiffle Does gets a dub on their record sheet. Does help them a little bit in those standings. Just a bit here, but that was the final score in this game.
Yeah, it does help them secure that third seed there. Walk off home run for Wiffle Does. Actually, also takes the Sheeps out of the number 1 seed considerations. So Glizzy Gladiators after that game were officially the number 1 seed in the Purple League. They'll be having a bye straight to the World Series, where as we'll see another Sheeps Wiffle Does matchup this coming Monday at 5:30. So we'll see how things shake out there. But very interesting game between Wiffle Does and the Sheeps. Wiffle Does able to pull it out. We'll see if that makes a difference for Wiffle Does and then for Wiffle D's as well, since some of those players play on both teams. We'll see how things get affected out there on the field on Monday.
Yeah, we typically seen this kind of new thing happen, having those players from Division 2 or Division 1 play in Purple League. So Wiffle Does has some of those guys from Wiffle D's playing in the Purple League. So whichever way you see it, extra batting practice or just there to have fun and have more time to play, that's certainly what that use is for the Purple League, if that's the option that you go with. But that's just something I wanted to note. Moving on, though, Pancake Batters against Glizzy Gladiators. Obviously, Glizzy Gladiators have already secured the 1 seed. This just helps them a little bit for themselves. If you watch the live streams, pretty fun to watch. Interesting mic quality, but Glizzy Gladiators take the victory 10-6 over the Pancake Batters. Glizzy Gladiators obviously already got the 1 seed, so they're in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, they officially eliminate the Pancake Batters. Players of the Pancake Batters, we appreciate you guys coming out here. Hopefully you guys continue to come out and continue to support and have fun on a Tuesday night. We'll see if we can get some more Purple League teams in there. Maybe there'll be a Purple Wiffle C team. We'll see if we can get enough females to join that team. But
You make it seem like we have no chance.
Well, I know some of us on those teams have no chance, but Especially me. I have no shot. Yeah. Well, I just had to throw that out there. So, Glizzy Gladiators get that win, officially clinch the number 1 seed. And then next up we got another matchup between the Glizzy Gladiators and the Sheeps. They play each other in the final game of the Purple League season. Ends up with a 9-9 tie. Not too much affected here by the standings, but now every team in the league has at least one tie, and the Purple League has at least one tie on their records. So, your thoughts on that? Your thoughts about that?
About the tie in particular, or just where they like having ties in general?
It's going to be an implication for the playoffs. Something interesting to see.
I actually think if the Sheeps won their game against Wiffle Does, and then they came into this game, like fighting for 1 seed or 2 seed, then this game probably would have made sense to use for playoff implications. Obviously, they didn't win the game against Wiffle Does, so this game, I want to say, didn't matter as much. So maybe that's why it ended up being a tie. But if it ended up being the situation where we had these two teams fighting for the 1 seed, then I think it would have made sense to have this one keep going all the way till the end.
Yeah, standings wise, it doesn't matter too much as we said, but we'll see what happens going into the playoffs. But we got the final standings here. The Glizzy Gladiators, led by Joey Ponder and Kyle Froome, who had some great mic quality on there, by the way, because I was on the mic for a while, I should say. They finished as the 1 seed with an 8-1-1 record. The Sheeps, who had already secured a playoff spot, they secured the number 2 spot, the 6-3-1 record. In third place, just to get into that playoff spot, is Wiffle Does with a 3-6-1 record. And then in fourth place is the Pancake Batters, who unfortunately got eliminated with a 1-8-1 record. So that's how the Purple League shaped out. Now we'll go into kind of just making sure people know how the playoffs are going to work in terms of timing and things like that. Do you want to do it or should I?
You are more knowledgeable in that aspect, but we can mention how many teams make it. So Purple League, top 3 teams make it. Division 2, top 4 teams make it to the playoffs. So it's not that easy in Division 2. Initially thinking that maybe all 6 teams make it, but that's not how it works, obviously. Division 1, the top 6 teams play, with the first 2 seeds having a first round bye.
Yeah. We've been over that in the past. Just a little emphasis to make sure. So the playoff schedule in terms of the actual timing, how things are going to work. Out of all the teams in the playoffs, there will actually be one team not playing on Monday, which is the Glizzy Gladiators. The Glizzy Gladiators are automatically in the World Series, so they will not have to play until Tuesday. So these will all be taking place in the stadium. Monday starts at 5:30 for some teams, and then Tuesday will be in the stadium as well, starting at 6:30. So Monday going on at 5:30. You have the Division 1 wildcard games going on, which will be the 3-6 matchup and the 4-5 matchup. Those are single elimination. You lose your out type games, and then also at 5:30 you have the Purple League semifinals between the 2 and 3 seeds, which is the Sheeps and Wiffle Does. That'll be taking place at 5:30. And then from 6:30 on till the rest of the night, you have the Division 1 and Division 2 semifinals, which will be the 1 and 2 seeds in Division 1, which have a bye, will then come out and play. They start at 6:30, whereas and all the Division 2 teams will then be playing at 6:30 as well, which they are automatically qualified into the with no buys, so they're all starting at 6:30. Division 1 will be playing at 6:30, and these clocks will go until 9:30. These games will either be 2 or 3 games, depending on if there's a sweep or if it's going to 3-game series. But these are best of 3 series. First team to win 2 games moves on to the World Series. And then Tuesday night, starting at 6:30, all 3 World Series will be taken on at this going on at the same time. So we'll have for the Division 1, the winner of each semifinal will play each other in a best of 3 series. Division 2, same thing. Best of 3, the World Series, and then for the Purple League, I can't remember for sure if it's a 1-game or if it's a 3-game World Series. I think it's a 1-game World Series where the 1-seed Glizzy Gladiators will be taking on the winner of the Sheeps and Wiffle Doughs matchup. And there'll be an email going about this later on, but whether it's a 1-game or 3-game World Series for the Purple League, but I'm pretty sure it's just one. But that's how things going to go. It could go till 9:30 or so, depending on how many games there are per series, whether they go 2 or 3 games. There will hopefully be some live stream stuff going on on Tuesday for the World Series. We'll see if that's going to be a possibility or not. It might be a little more difficult with 3 games going on at the same time than it was like in the summer, where there was only one World Series going on. In the spring, we didn't have the live stream, but that's the schedule timing wise for how things are going to work out for this coming week. So make sure to adjust your schedules. Monday at 5:30 for some teams. I know some people have work or school or stuff like that, so just try your best, do your best to get there and be there for your team.
Rightly so, and I think we now have a chance that we've given you guys the preview of the playoffs, essentially, and Steven giving us some great information about the time frames. We can actually now make our predictions for each league, and we're actually going to go in reverse order, so we'll start off with the Purple League, go to Division 2, and then finish off with Division 1 and what we think those teams will be. Steven is obviously 2-0 on his predictions with regular season stuff, so not... What do you want from that? Looking to continue that streak, so we'll see how he goes, because now he has 3 chances to either go undefeated or just, finally get a blemish on that record.
Yeah, if I go undefeated in these, I am literally the perfect predictor.
You're the genie of the Orange County Wiffle Ball League.
I am him.
I am him. Okay, now that we've given you guys the playoff picture and everything like that, we can now talk about specifically what our predictions are. Obviously, we just talked about it just a little bit. Let's see if Steven is him. I do want to mention, though, that the Purple League, if I'm reading the playoff format graphic right, the first game is single elimination. So first game, instantly, whoever loses the game is out. And then the World Series or Championship game for Purple League is best of 3, if I'm reading that correctly. I'll make sure...
there should be some confirmation of it in the email that comes out this weekend, but I believe that's what we have.
Rightio. So let's take a look at it. We got Wiffle Doughs, the Sheeps, and Glizzy Gladiators. I'll start off with you. What would be your predictions, and how do you think this thing will play out?
Yeah, so these are 2 teams we just saw play each other this past week. As we saw, Wiffle Doughs took the victory against the Sheeps, but I'm picking the Sheeps in this one. I think you got Anthony and Matt on a team. I think it's going to be very hard to pick against them, so I'm picking them to win this game. I think it'll be they'll beat them somewhere in the 4 to 7 run range, and I believe they will knock Wiffle Doughs out and move on to where Anthony can play in his first World Series in this league.
He hasn't won one yet, so I think that's a good chance for him to make it. So
wait, I do apologize. He did make it to the World Series in the summer 2022 season, but he did not. He did not win it, so it will be the second time he's made it to the World Series. I do take that. I did forget about that one.
But he hasn't won one yet, so maybe he will have a chance to get one if we.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah. So then you have the Sheeps going in there. I would probably say the same, just because the Sheeps have a bigger lineup, so to speak, and I'm sure a lot of those guys on Wiffle Doughs are more. Focused on getting, those guys in Division 2 more play time, so it might be a different story there, but I'm going to take the Sheeps in there. So our pictures right now as it stands is the Sheeps versus the Glizzy Gladiators in the championship game.
Yeah, that's what we have right now, and I'll let you go first on this one. Who do you have?
I'm gonna
winning
take
that best of 3 matchup. Okay.
he threw a glizzy at me, but you know what? I forgive him. So I'm gonna take the Glizzy Gladiators. In this game, I just think they have more depth, more experience. They have the numbers to go with it, and they have some pretty sweet live streams. So it would be nice to see what that win looks like for them.
Yeah, the Glizzy Gladiators do have some good players on there, some good underrated players, especially people like Shelby and Benny, Benny the Jet, on their team. Who both of them are big pitchers on the team for the Glizzy Gladiators. But I'm actually going to pick the Sheeps here. I'm going to predict that Anthony wins his first World Series title in this league, and I think during the regular season in Purple League, sometimes people do mess around a little bit, have a little fun, especially guys like Anthony. But I think in this one he's gonna be a little more serious. You're gonna see him getting on base nearly every time, maybe to the point where people are gonna start walking him once he gets to the plate. And I think he's gonna improve the pitching and keep guys off balance. So I'm gonna take the Chiefs to win this first one, and probably in a 3-game series versus the Glizzy Gladiators in some heartbreaking fashion for them.
All right, well, we have our picks for the Purple League. We shall see what happens on Tuesday between these two teams, if that happens, or so. But we shall see who is going to become victorious in the Purple League predictions. That's what we got for you. Now we can move on to Division 2. For Division 2, 4 teams are going in there. We got the first seed taking on the 4th seed, if I'm correct, and the second seed taking on the 3rd seed. So OC Seals, 47ers, Wiffle D's versus Whoosh.
Yeah, that is what we have here. So the winner of those 2 series will play each other in the World Series on Tuesday. But for Monday, we'll start off with the 2-3 matchup for you, Justin. Wiffle D's versus Whoosh. Who do you have winning that series, and in how many games?
Both of these teams, and I know we're gonna hear it from Ryan later about this report a bit. But both of these teams have really been playing really well as of late. And obviously they play each other like a ton this season, so they really know when to learn from each other and how to approach each other, especially going to the playoffs. You're going to really need that to become advantageous and play smartly in these games. The one intriguing thing to me about the matchup between these two teams is just the fact that Whoosh has been raking as of late. They came off with a very slow start to start out the season, but now they're coming in here with a lot of momentum. They have some really great bats in there. Nick Yusov has been playing fantastic for them. Ryan Miller is doing the same thing that he's always been doing, just being consistent at all times. And then you have this one guy coming out of nowhere, Drew Plant, who, yes, he has a very small sample size, but he's hitting over 500 with just the small amount of at-bats that he's got. So I actually will take Whoosh over Wiffle D's to move on to the World Series.
Yeah, so in doing research for this, trying to figure out the matchups between how these two teams have done against each other. I believe these two teams played each other 2 times. Each team, it's a 1-1 series tie. Wiffle D's won the first time these two teams played 11-3, and the second time Whoosh defeated Wiffle D's 4-1. Which we talked about a couple weeks ago, which kind of kept the Whoosh in the playoff hunt as they were starting to slip a little bit. This one's a very intriguing matchup. Wiffle D's has some of the best pitching in Division 2, but Whoosh out of these teams has the most experience so far in Division in mostly wiffle ball in general. Whereas Wiffle D's, they got some experience last past season, but this is only their second season really as a team. But I'm going to take Wiffle D's in this one. I think no matter who wins, I think it's going to come out to a 3-game series. But I think the pitching of Wiffle D's is going to end up coming out on top, and I believe they're going to be able to get the clutch hitting when it's needed. So I have them going to the World Series in between this matchup. I think it's a very close, hard-fought matchup. I think it's going to be going until 9:30, 9:45 or so. These teams are going to be battling, and I might even see an extra inning game or 2 in there. So that's my prediction for for the first matchup. So we got some opposing views for this one actually.
So, well, that's great because then now we can use that to tally the score sheet a little bit once we get to the point of the World Series, like who's going to win that. But obviously,
I can take it off for me right now.
Okay, whatever you say, man. Now we can get into the 47ers and the OC Seals, though, who very interesting, intriguing matchup. 47ers, brand new team to the league. OC Seals, also brand new to the league, but they have guys who played in the league during the summer, and then also OC Seals were participating in the summer tournament as well, so they are part of that. So you have good experience, but OC Seals are very dominant in their ways. We've seen that throughout this season. Obviously, they're going through a rough stretch that, like we talked about with these last two games that they played this week. So this is actually going to be a fairly intriguing matchup because we know the 47ers can play spoiler, and we know what they look like. So I turn to you since I made the first pick earlier. What do you think? Who's gonna win OC Seals 47ers?
Yeah, these two teams have played each other a few times. The most recent matchup, 47ers did defeat the OC Seals 1-0. That would be in Week 8. Gave the Seals their second loss of the season and stopped them from clinching the 1 seed early. But I have the OC Seals bouncing back and taking this series. I think they're going to be locked in. They've had some offensive issues. This past week they weren't able to really break away from teams and score a whole lot of runs. But the competition in D2 is good. I think they start. The more you kind of get to understand people, you can figure out how to get them out easier. And the OC Seals, a lot of guys being new, they were getting a lot of runs early. But I think once playoffs comes around, I think they're gonna be able to put some runs up. And really, I think the main thing for them is keeping the scoring low. About 53 runs the whole year, which in Division 2, the next team being at 75 is quite impressive. So I have OC Seals winning this matchup. What do you have?
You have OC Seals winning this matchup. I actually would agree with you on there. I would have OC Seals moving in there. I just feel like 47ers, they're a young team of guys who are brand new to the league. They know how to win. Obviously, they did that against the OC Seals, but I just feel like OC Seals are going to figure it out with the pitching. They obviously hold a lot of teams low. They don't allow a lot of runs. They have the most... they have the least amount of runs allowed in the entire Division 2, so I just think that gives them the edge in this game, and if they can just consistently hit, then they have a very good chance against the 47ers. I just feel like, not to discredit the 47ers, because they've played really good ball this year, being the new team. We putting those expectations like, new teams don't really make it that far, but obviously they made the cut to actually make the playoffs, but I just feel like the situation that they're in against the OC Seals is too much. I feel like OC Seals are a much more dominant team than the 47ers, so I have them moving through.
Gotcha. Yeah, so we both agree on that one. So we have half the World Series the same, and then we've had a little bit of we have opposite teams moving on to play the OC Seals. But before we get into our World Series predictions, let's kick it over to Ryan Lavelle, who's gonna join us right now. He's gonna talk about some of the what each team needs to do in order to get to the World Series and win a World Series. So let's go to that.
All right, let's send it over to Ryan. Okay, joining us now, good friend of the show in Ryan Lavelle. He's a player with the OC Seals, captain of the OC Seals, checking in with us today because we're going to take a look at the Division II playoff picture, and no better way to have our guy here who has been playing in Division II this entire season. How are you doing, Ryan, and how do you feel for the playoffs that's coming around the bend?
I feel good. Good end to the season. My team, the Seals, we did clinch that number 1 spot. So I feel good going in. And it was a good season. I think a lot of people in Division 2 had fun. And excited for playoffs. We're just 2 days away. So it's coming up pretty fast.
It definitely is. It's literally going to be on Monday. We're going right into it. It's great to have you here because generally we're mostly paying attention to Division 1 because that's where we're playing, obviously. So it's nice to have somebody with a different look, who really is watching the Division Two games, who's playing in it actively. So it's great to have you here. So for the playoff picture in particular, which is Division Two, we have 4 teams in total that are going to the playoffs for Division Two. So far, it's your team, Wiffle D's at the 2nd seed, Woosh at the 3rd seed, 47ers at the 4th seed, and then Bad News Dingers and Pacific Thrashers did not make the cut, unfortunately. But that makes our playoff picture to just 4 teams. We're here to get a little preview from you. Steven, I'll let you kick things off. You got any questions?
Yeah, with the Seals and you guys had a pretty dominant year. 10-2 record. That's very good start for a brand new team. How does this season compare to you last year with the addition of the divisions and you guys being in Division 2, and then for you specifically going from the last place team to the first place team in the division?
I think the divisions was definitely the right idea. I think the one thing that actually ended up being pretty interesting was if you talk to anyone from Division 2 that played in last year as well, the last season as well, it still felt really competitive. The part that was great is I think that the divisions, what it led to was, okay, everyone in the division had a chance, and you could see it by the standings. Like, the Bad News Stingers miss it by a game, 5-7, being like a game under 500. If they flip one of those losses to a win, they're 6-6, they're at 500 in the year. Like, that's a pretty amazing thing to look at, and then go like, okay, out of those 6 teams, we had 5 of them that were like right in that hunt to the final game of the whole season. So I think the division's definitely worked out. I enjoyed it. I think it's a good idea that should stay in this league for as long as it can. And how does it feel to be going from last to first in this? It's been fun. It's crazy because like I no joke I had so much fun last season, and it was only elevated because this season I'm with more of my friends and we're winning. And it felt great, but the divisions was a huge success in my opinion, and I definitely think it should stay for a while.
Absolutely, yes. Let's get right into it. I don't want to put you on the spot too much. Being the captain of those CCOs, making predictions and stuff, but we try to watch the games as best we can. I'm roaming around between the fields, but I can't always focus on a particular division at a time. So I want to get some insight for you, kind of for each of these 4 playoff teams. What will be? Let's start it with 4th place. Your opponent for the first round. Yeah. For the 47ers, what do you think it's going to take for them to be successful in this playoffs? Maybe upset a 1 seed or even make it all the way to winning a World Series. So
out of our 2 losses, they were the most recent one. They beat us 2 weeks ago. We lost 1-0, and I'm not gonna lie. Like, were we surprised? Yeah, we were pretty surprised. Not so much that we lost. We were more surprised that we got shut out, and the bats just weren't there. I'm not pulling anything away from what they did that night, but we felt like we were swinging fine. We just didn't just score runs. We would get guys on base. We walked a lot that night. I can actually get to that later when we talk about ourselves, but we did score runs. And it was funny because after that game, a couple of us, I won't hide it, we were like, man, I kind of hope we don't that doesn't happen to us in the playoffs. And then here we are, we're gonna face them, so we have to go through this again, and we just got to score runs this time. We didn't even have Zach Iron that night. Zach wasn't even there. He didn't pitch for us. We had Nick Doherty and Brandon Salzman pitch. They only gave up 1 run, and it was on a solo home run, and that was the game. Like, that's how we lost. And but talk about the 47ers though. Man, those guys, I said it when I typed you guys up some stuff like midway through the season. Very athletic. They don't have like a ton of crazy strikeout numbers if you look at it. I think they're like middle of the pack in terms of strikeouts. But my big thing is they will make plays on a lot of stuff that you hit hard. They make a lot of plays on swings when you're like, man, that's a hit. I don't know how that ball didn't get through. And I don't actually know the guy's name that plays 3rd base for them, or he's like on the left side of the infield. This guy is a wall, and anything on the ground, it's fielded. And it doesn't. I'm not gonna lie, it doesn't look pretty. Like, he doesn't field it like actually field it. They understand the rules of wiffle ball very well. They're blocking everything. They keep everything in front of them. Their outfielders are doing a great job, like just tracking down balls. They a bunch of times in the game that we played, they catch home runs, right? Like they don't make mistakes in the field, and that's like what surprised me the most is I've never, I guess, like believed that defense can be like super valuable in this league just because you look at the offensive numbers, like defense isn't going to slow this down that much. That's how they beat us. They beat us by literally it was defense. They struck us out plenty of times, yeah, but like there was plenty of hits that we had where that against any other team, seriously, like that's a hit. And so they're great in the field. I actually think it's like their biggest skill. If they want to win, it's probably going to be through some clutch hits, some big hits. They hit a pretty good amount of home runs. Most of their hits are homers. They walk quite a bit as well. It's kind of like walk homer or strikeout for them. I feel like, but their defense is honestly going to carry them. I could see them winning a game and winning multiple. I could see them surprising a lot of people just because they're locked in that day and they're making good plays.
Yeah, absolutely. They do have a good number of home runs overall in the year. I believe they're third in Division 2, just behind you guys and Whoosh. And speaking to those strikeout numbers you talked about, they as a pitching staff, they had the second lowest amount of strikeouts in the league, and they also per inning they actually didn't even average a full strikeout per inning. So that could be very interesting. That could be very interesting to see. Yeah, they had 66 innings pitched, 65 strikeouts. So although these stats are not fully updated, we haven't got the Week 9 stats as we're recording this right now, so things could be a little different. But 47 Suno, they could surprise some people out there. I was a little surprised they did fall to this 4 seed. I thought they would be the 3 seed, but here we are. Let's go on next to the third place team for you. What do you see? What do you see with the LA Wolves of OC Division 2 team?
Yeah. So Whoosh, we actually haven't seen Whoosh like personally, like face Whoosh in a while. We saw him week 1, and we also saw him in week 3, and then that was it. We didn't see him the rest of the year. So and during that time, I know that first night they didn't have like the full squad there. Like I'm pretty sure Yusuf wasn't there, and then the second time he was there, but he was like second night or whatever, maybe in like first night of the season for him. And that's a guy that last season was, a top 5 hitter, I think, in the whole thing. And he got off to a pretty slow start this year. I kept my eye on Whoosh's stats just because I know like this is a dangerous team. You look at those guys; they're all big dudes, strong guys. And they've picked it up for sure. Like I said, I believe they started pretty rocky in the beginning, and then they kind of started to pick it up. And the 2 times that we faced them, the biggest thing was like they just had to try to get to Ireland. They couldn't really do much with that. And we'll have them. So, that'll be, if we do face them at some point in the playoffs, that'll be a pretty big deal to them, is just like, how are they going to handle that? But I think the biggest thing for them is just limiting runs through pitching. I hope that they're practicing this weekend. I hope that maybe this weekend they can, discover something or figure something out that's really going to help them on the mound. But they can hit, man. They can hit. They led the whole thing in runs. I actually was thinking about this, like, what is it about them that I think like they do really well? And they, whenever, and this is not a knock on them, like nothing I'm saying is like a negative here about like any team. Like, well, like they need this is like their big weakness or like a little secret, but they absolutely, like from what I've seen, they punish your number 2 pitcher. If you put in your number 2 guy, that's when they totally jump on them. They will absolutely capitalize on that. I know they scored a lot of runs against teams number 2s this year, and that's absolutely a skill. Your ace is only throwing 4 innings, right? So if you can get to that number 2, you only have to 2 innings at most probably to work with that, and they absolutely, like, those are the innings that they capitalize. So that's to me like a big thing. If you're facing him, is your number 2's got to be on, and if he's not, they're going to put up a lot of runs, and you might lose just because of that. So yeah, Whoosh is they're dangerous for sure. That's a team that I'm definitely keeping my eye on. I think that they could upset both rounds if they win against Wiffle D's, and whether they're playing us or the 47ers. Like I absolutely think they could beat us just because they have like that ability to just absolutely destroy you in 1 inning, and then like that's all they needed, right? So
yeah, they have the experience. These guys have been around for a while. Some of them obviously have used to play with my team, the other Wolves of OC. Then they've kind of they branched back off into Whoosh, and where they passed and kind of with me, and then went off again. But Like I said, like you said, it's a very dangerous team that can get hot at the right time. So I didn't mean to cut you off, Justin.
No, you're good. No, I just wanted to add because I don't want to take too much of your time because I know it's a little bit limited. But like we saw Whoosh like kind of with the inflated numbers at like the beginning of the season, then they kind of like flatlined just for a little bit, and then all of a sudden like late in the season they started kicking things back into high gear.
Yeah,
and it's like whoa.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, that is like I pay very close attention to this division. That was when I saw it kind of starting. I look and I go, yep, there you go. Nick Yusoff started to get hot. The pitching started to get a little bit better, and I was like, dude, they're doing it. Playoffs are in 3 weeks. Like, this is a team that's going to be going into the playoffs, I think, with more confidence than they had at any point in the season. So they have a really tough first round opponent, but like I said, I think they could upset both rounds. I really do. Like, it's that team absolutely is maybe like what you would call, I guess, like the Philadelphia Phillies of last year, just like getting hot at the right time. The Diamondbacks of this year, and but like that's it, I believe it. I believe 100%. Like, it would not shock me if Whoosh all of a sudden, like, you know, like against these good pitchers that they're going to face, is putting up double-digit runs. So
Yeah, and it says in the name too, whoosh. Like they could take the whole thing just by like a little whoosh. But like, I know you pay attention to the stat sheet, and you're like, you would expect what Nick Yusoff to get like a ton of his because he won an award last season, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then like, I know he doesn't have a whole lot of at bats, but 19 out of 37, Drew Plant has a 5.14 average, and he's got 9 home runs in that short amount of like time that he's had with at bats. Like, that's dangerous if you have that small like sample size, and then when you go to playoffs, like he could be like like that.
Yeah, and it's like whether I didn't like really like want to like use this word, but like I'll say it because you did, like the word inflated, right? The word inflated stats and stuff. We all face the same pitchers that in Division 2. So they did the thing. Like they did it against those pitchers. I faced the same guys. My stats aren't inflated. You know, our team, we faced the Thrashers, and you know, they went winless this year, right? But like we faced the Thrashers and we blew the lead in the 6th, and then we had to come back and, you know, and win on a walk-off in the 6th. Like, we had the same opportunities as them, but we didn't go nuts like that. And not a lot of people did. You know, some games, you know, they play the Thrashers and teams come back. They're like, yeah, like we only won, you know, like 5-3 or something crazy. And it's like, yeah, dude, like when Whoosh got that second guy coming in against anyone, I feel like they capitalized on it. So that's something to absolutely watch. Is maybe, you know, they'll be a little bit quiet, but there's that one inning you got to avoid that nightmare inning against Whoosh. You have to avoid that's it. That's all you got to avoid.
Yeah, Ellie Wilsonville Whoosh, come on. But moving on, the team that finished in the 2 seed, guys, you guys have seen them in the regular season a couple times. Even saw them in the Summer Classic. You guys had an elimination game against each other. What do you think would be the key for Wiffle D's?
They're good. They're really good. Won't pull any punches here or anything. That's the team that I'm easily the most afraid of. They're really good, and they're good because Alex Harris, their number 1, is, I think, like not a Division 2 guy. Like, that's a guy that I think could be an ace on a bunch of staffs in Division 1. He's really, really good, and so if he's there. Like, I mean, I'm assuming that would be it for both games, but I'm not, like, I don't know anything that no one else doesn't. But, like, if he's there, that instantly gives you a chance to win. If you're Wiffle D's, that instantly gives you a chance to win. And the other thing is, if Brian Garza is there, instantly you have a chance to win. And, like, no matter what. So those 2 guys are legit. I mean, as good as it gets, you know, at what they do. Alex is great in the mound, Brian's great at the plate. So, to me, the other thing is if everyone else has a good day, I mean, it's going to be hard to beat them. It's going to be really hard to beat them. If anyone else is, you know, contributing, whether it's on the mound or at the plate, they're fine. Like, they'll win. They'll beat anyone. We played them twice this year, and we were 2 of their 4 losses, but the first game we won and kind of lopsided in terms of like the final score. It was only like 2-0 or 3-0 going to that 6th inning that we ended up winning by a lot bigger than that, but close for 5 innings. Then the next team we played them, and it was close for 6 innings. So that is a matchup that if it does happen, it would be in the World Series, and that would probably be the most competitive wiffle ball that I've ever been a part of. So I'm excited if that does happen. They're a cool group of guys too. So, but yeah, like they're in my opinion like very capable of beating anyone.
Gotcha. Yeah, and maybe they'll have a little chip on their shoulder. You guys did hand them 2 of their 4 losses. You guys swept them in the regular season, and then that tournament. Maybe if that's a matchup, maybe they'll have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. We saw with the Beach City Bombers last year, where the Purple Huskies beat them, gave them their only losses the whole season, and then they got the World Series, and Beach City Bombers ended up winning. So that you never know how those stuff can turn around like that. Wolf at least did a great job this year. We'll see if they can carry that over into the playoffs. They got a tough matchup versus Whoosh first, but finally, let's go to your team, the number 1 seed. What's it going to take for you guys to take home the championship in your first official season as the Seals?
So obviously, I think like the biggest thing with us this year was the pitching, especially just the good pitching that we did have helped a ton. With Ireland, and then you had like the 2 other guys that shared like basically like the rest of the load with Nick Doherty and Brandon Salzman. They were both great. The only thing that I will say, and like people have probably noticed this, so we had a bye week 7, I believe, and the week before that we had just played Wiffle D's and we won 6-5, and that was the first game of the whole season where we hadn't scored 10 runs or more. And it was like, okay, well, it makes sense. We're playing Wiffle D's, good pitcher with Alex and stuff. Like, okay, we only scored 6. Bye week, next week, week 8, we only played 1 game. Later game, it was at 8:30. We get shut out. Last week, we played the Thrashers. We don't score double digits again. We had actually only scored 5 runs going into the 6th. We play Bad News Dingers. We win 3-0. So we haven't been in the last 3 weeks, in my opinion, the offensive team that we had been like the whole year. So what's it going to take? I know what it is. I don't know if I want to say it like out loud. I know what it's been, like the biggest change at the plate, but there's the guys that have been doing really well the whole year basically, and it's kind of unfortunate because I feel like this is the worst time to be in this spot, but there's a couple of us that have just gotten into a little bit of a rut. And we're not really getting hits anymore. We're actually walking a lot more than we were. So I feel like actually like the thing I'll say is we got to be aggressive. We have to get hits. Walks are cool, but hits are a lot better in my opinion. Just because you can't score guys on walks. There's been a lot of times in these past 3 weeks where we would have guy in second, guy in third, or whatever, and we would walk. And it's like that's cool, like another guy on base, but then it doesn't move anyone up. No one gets to move forward. So I know like that's like obvious, right? But like no, it's true. It's in wiffle ball. It's like a walk. They're nice if you convert walks into runs, but like walks don't do anything in wiffle ball really. Like you can have in wiffle ball like a not great outing the mound, or it doesn't feel great because you're walking guys. But then like you're like, dude, I didn't give up a run. Like it was totally fine, because they weren't hitting. So there's plenty of teams that I think you could look at in last season, this season, that it's like, yeah, it's awesome. You guys walk a lot. Or even like individual players, it's like, yeah, you walk a lot, but then you look and you're like, dude, your batting average, what you do, like, when you in those situations where like a walk doesn't do you anything, it doesn't help. Like walks just don't help a lot. So I think we just got to stay aggressive or get aggressive, honestly, going into these playoffs. And just trust what we've been doing. Like you just got to go up there and swing it, man. It's like we got really patient all of a sudden. I think a lot of it's just a little bit of a lack of focus thing. But yeah, we just got to go up and swing it.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of walk percentage in the league, you guys finished with the 3rd highest walk percentage behind Wiffle D's and Whoosh. So, I mean, those are the top 3 teams right there.
Yeah.
Walking is not always a bad thing, but I totally understand. We kind of have the same mentality as a team. We're not big walk guys. We want to put the ball in play and be able to make things happen. We'd rather make them make a play because it's just more fun that way. So
yeah, it's definitely more fun. And then, like I said, the biggest thing is you get to move the runners up that way. Like it's no one's ever been like, yeah, like that was a clutch walk with a guy in third and no one else on. Like that's not a thing. You're looking for that hit, and we're definitely capable of doing that. We just gotta, I think, be a little bit less patient, in a weird way of saying that. We just have to be more aggressive and understand not even just the zone, like the strike zone. We understand like what we can hit.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate the insight from you into this. We'll be making some predictions in a minute, but I want to get a quick prediction for you, since not about Division 2, but about Division 1. Who do you think is going to be? Who do you think will take the winner for that one?
So, man, what you guys had in Division 1, I described it last week, like during the game. So I was like, this is an absolute just slaughter going on in the middle there. Like, you guys are all just killing each other. This is crazy. And but if I had to guess, man, I'm not gonna lie. I know I got two LA Waffles right here. So I'm leaning more towards. I think this is the year. I really mean this. The year that the 1 seed does it. I think the curse is broken this season. So I'm gonna go with the Purple Huskies do it.
Gotcha. Sounds good.
It's a boring pick. It's the one pick, I know, but like I think this is the year that the 1 seed does it. We're in split divisions now. I feel like the bad juju or whatever you want to call it is gone, because it's a different kind of league now. So I'll say Purple Huskies.
Gotcha. Sounds good. Unless Justin's got anything else.
I actually do want to ask you a question. In light of talking about first seed curses, you guys are the 1 seed in Division 2, so yes, I think we got to address the elephant in the room here. So let me ask you, what do you think? Do you think it'll carry over to Division 2, or do you think irrelevant?
So, man, because so everyone's listening, everyone listening knows, I said before we started recording, like, I don't want to do predictions for Division 2, because I do believe in being humble and being just play it out, but let's say that I don't think it's going to happen. Like, if I was a betting man, I think the favorite would be us, right? For a lot of reasons, but the biggest thing that I'm like afraid of is not just like the curse part, the 1 seed curse. If we play any of these teams, right? Like, we've played the 47ers 3 times. We were 2-1 against them. We played Whoosh 2 times. We're 2-0. We played Wolf with these 2 times. We're 2-0. It's really hard against any opponent. It's really difficult to beat someone 4 times. So, like, that's a part that kind of scares me, is what Steven mentioned, like the chip on the shoulder kind of thing. Like, we could play Whoosh in the World Series. We could play Wolf with these in the World Series. And both of those teams could go 2-0 against us or 2-1 against us. And then the OCCs are looking back and we go like, man, we beat those guys 2 out of 4 times, but it didn't. The 2 wins didn't come from the most important 2 games of the season. So, like I said, I do think it's really, really tough to beat a team 4 times. That's what scares me. Is just like, can we go in and say like, yep, we played you 4 times, beat you 4 times, or even like, beat us that once, but then out of the 5 times we played them, we beat them 4 out of 5. That's hard to do. So I'm a little bit nervous about that part, just because of the way that sports work. It kind of always feels like it balances out at some point, but I'm still confident though. Like, after like even like saying that, I'm like, I still feel good going in.
I mean, sorry. Go ahead.
If you, I was going to wrap this stuff up. If you want to keep going, go for it.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong. It's like, it's okay to have that feeling, especially like when you're going against these teams. Are like, maybe they picked up something about like the way that you guys do things. Like, after 3-4 games or whatever. Yeah. And then you go in here, you're like, okay, so maybe they have us figured out. Maybe they don't. But it's like, also at the same time, you guys are like really dominant pitching too. So it's like, maybe don't. Like, a lot of people say like they probably shouldn't worry too much, but like I totally get that. Like, there's a weird balance thing here and there.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, you see someone enough on the mound, like, you would hope that after facing the guy 20 times that like you have a chance, after like your like maybe your 21st at bat is where it clicks, and that 21st at bat is going to happen in the playoffs. So, yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We'll see how things shake out in Division 2. We know you're a little bit of a time crunch, so we'll let you go. We appreciate you coming on and talking about all the teams, giving a little more insight since you're in there. Good luck this coming Monday. We'll see how your first games will start at 6:30 in Division 2.
Yep.
We'll make some predictions right after you leave. But thanks for coming on and giving us more info.
Yeah. Anyone listening, if you were in Division 2, thank you guys for a good season. It was a ton of fun, and I hope to see you guys in the winter season and the seasons after that. I hope that we do well as well. But for you guys, I know you guys are going into like a really, really tough stretch here coming forward, and it's going to take a lot to win the whole thing. But I mean, I know I just said Perplexes, but I could see it in the L levels too. So I'll say that. But good luck to you guys, and go do the thing. Why not? Why not you guys? Right? Go do the thing.
Hey, go flap those flippers.
Flap those flippers. That's right. Flap those flippers.
Flap those flippers.
All right. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Ryan.
Have a good one.
Okay, thank you, Ryan Lavelle, for being on the show and giving us your great insight on Division 2. Looks like we can now go with our predictions with what we got. So I've got OC Seals and Whoosh in the World Series. You've got Wiffle D's and OC Seals in the World Series. Let's kick it off. Let's go with you. Let's go with you first. What do you think? Wiffle D's or OC Seals to win the Division 2 championship game?
For me, it's OC Seals versus Wiffle D's. The two top teams in terms of record, two top seeds, two teams that are familiar with each other, not just during this past season, but also during the Summer Classic that we had in between the summer and fall seasons. These two teams faced off against each other. Actually, they were both the 4 and 5 seeds, but they actually the Wiffle D's were the higher seed at that point. As we went into the wild card round of the tournament, OCC has ended up taking the victory over Wiffle D's in a very close matchup. But that was just a 1-game matchup, so who knows? Things could have been different and if there was a game 2 or game 3, although we didn't have time for that. But for this one, I've got a 3-game series. I believe OC Seals are going to come out right away and score some runs early and take game 1. I've got Wiffle D's bouncing back, limiting the runs, and getting some runs late in game 2 to be able to secure themselves a game 2 victory. And then game 3, I'm going to say the OC Seals with that home advantage. They're going to end up pulling out that victory in game 3, and they are my prediction winner to win the Division 2 World Series. I think the firepower they have is very strong. Zach Ireland on the mound has been great, and I think having him back up, because they didn't have Zach Ireland when they faced against the 47ers and didn't score a run. So I definitely think the offense is going to be there for the OC Seals versus Wiffle D's, even though, as Ryan just talked about, the Wiffle D's has some of the best pitching in the league, or is some of the best pitching in Division 2. So he's somebody could even play in D1 and be successful. But for this matchup, I'm going to go with the OC Seals winning it all.
All right, well, you got the OC Seals winning against Wiffle D's in the championship game. I've got OC Seals versus Whoosh for the championship game. My prediction, I think it will go straight out 3 games. I think OC Seals will come in strong with the pitching, take game 1, and then Whoosh are going to figure themselves out, hit a lot of bombs in that second game, and really outstretch the OC Seals in the second game. And now, for my champion of Division 2, I have Whoosh winning Division 2 in the championship series, really riding off of that wave of momentum from Game 2 and going all the way to getting Ryan Miller his first ever World Series championship title, as him and you yourself might get a consolation prize with that as well. But I do have Whoosh taking the victory against the OC Seals and winning Division 2 World Series.
Interesting, maybe if Ryan had stayed with us for one more season, he would have had a World Series last spring. But that's regardless of the point. That's in the past. But interesting. So you have Whoosh in a 3-game series. That's very interesting. On a scale of 1 to 10, so far with your picks, how confident are you feeling for both Division 2 and Purple League?
Well, knowing that I'm already 0-2 on the first 2 weeks. I actually feel like a 7 on this one, because there is a small bit of me that says OC Seals are still going to be the dominant team, and they really are going to jump in there. And then the other side is like Wiffle D's actually does have a really good chance of knocking off Whoosh as well, like early in the playoffs. So any of those possibilities are still out there because all three of these top three teams in Division 2 have a really solid chance of actually like having a good chance of making it up there. I can't say 10 out of 10 because that would be way too overconfident. I want to say like a 6.5, 7 out of 10.
Gotcha. I just had to check in there. I'm feeling pretty good right now. I'm giving myself like an 8, 8.5. The Sheeps and OC Seals, I need you, but if it doesn't happen, that's the thing we do. We try to put our money where our mouth is, and we can't put our money where our mouth is. We just have to put our mouth out there. So
yeah,
not for Division 2 in the Purple League at least, since we don't play in those. But we will see what happens in those matchups. But now we got the big one coming up. We got Division 1 coming up. Got the 6 teams. The Purple Huskies, MS Warriors, LOC, Trash Pandas, Avocados, and Beach City Bombers taking on each other, and they're in different matchups to see who can get the first ever Division 1 World Series. A couple World Series winners in the past year, in terms with the LOC in the spring and the Beach City Bombers in the fall. Let's start off with that matchup first because that's actually the first wild card matchup taking place at 5:30. It's a 3-6 matchup. The OC will be the home team versus the Beach City Bombers. Justin, who do you have winning that one?
This is the reigning championship team from summer 2020 taking on Eliosa OC. This is the first time these two teams will meet in the playoffs with each other. So this will be, I really think this will be an interesting matchup. Now the fact that you have Zach Moore back in there with the pitching lineup, if he is there on Monday, I'm not sure. But if he's there, Beach City Bombers have a good fighting chance. We know they have the capability to do so. We saw them take down Purple Huskies in the World Series in summer 2023. My feelings are that with Dustin Staggs coming back on Monday, I just feel like Eliosa OC have the right pitching to really keep the Beach City Bombers offense at least quiet for the most part. I think it'll be a low-scoring game. It's going to be up to the other players like Dylan Menji and Jordan Drexler and then Justin to really continue what they did this last week and push things through. So I have us, Eliosa OC, moving on beyond Beach City Bombers to move on to the next game.
Gotcha. As do I. I have the 3. Eliosa OC have had a little bit of struggle being the 3 seed. They've been the 3 seed twice in the playoffs and have lost their wild card game each time. However, I think this situation is going to be different. I think they'll also see a little bit different team than those previous 2 teams that were in this 3 seeds predicament before. Less guys, some different guys, and things like that. I think they're going to be able to take care of the Beach City Bombers in the first matchup of the day. It just depends on who's going to be able to jump out early, get that lead early. Because both sides pitching are very good. With the combination, you have 3-headed monster and Steven Hayden, Jordan Dressler, and Dustin Staggs. And Beach City Bombers, you have Tyler Moore, and then if Zach Moore is there, that's going to be very dangerous. I could see this possibly going to extra innings, but I got the OC coming out on top here and moving on to play the MS Warriors in the semifinals.
All right, well, you got that prediction. So we got both of our teams moving on to the next team, which would be the MS Warriors in this case, the second seed. Okay, now we can move on to the Avocabros and Trash Pandas matchup for the divisional round. These two teams are same records. We actually got to see a glimpse of them last week as they played each other. Trash Pandas obviously had the huge advantage against the Avocabros. So I guess we'll let you start off since I picked first for this one. So who do you got between the Trash Pandas and the Avocabros?
Yeah, the Trash Pandas have swept this series during the regular season, including that most recent win, which was a 19-8 victory over the Avocabros, in which they got started early hitting. And you look at these two teams, and the biggest difference between them is the runs allowed. Trash Pandas are actually tied for third in having the least in runs allowed, with 65, tied with the MS Warriors, just behind the Louisville's of OC and the Purple Huskies. Whereas the Avocabros are the resounding highest amount of runs allowed with 141, with the next person being the Beach City Bombers at 96. So for me, I think that's the difference maker. I think this will be another high scoring game, but I see the Trash Pandas coming on top of this one. Normally we see some upsets, at least one upset in the wild card each year. Last year it was the 3-6 matchup, which the Trash Pandas beat the Yellow Wolves of OC. But I think this one's going to be a little more straightforward, and the Trash Pandas are going to defeat the Avocarbos in the wild card game.
All right, well, you've got the Trash Pandas moving on to the next game to take on Purple Huskies. I'm actually going to ditto you on that. Here are my reasons why. Typically, when we see teams that have a extremely low run differential like the Avocarbos do, you don't typically see a lot of those teams really getting through to, those bigger games. Because it's weird to think of itself like, they gave up the most runs in the league, yet they're in the 5th seed. It just means they know how to win games. It's just tough for them to really keep a consistent basis. And we know Avocarbos have had that inconsistent basis for some time now, but they know how to win games when they need to. My only issue is that Trash Pandas did defeat Avocarbos this last week, 19-8, which is a big score for the Trash Pandas. If they allow them to repeat those same numbers, Avocarbos are going to have a minimalistic chance of really taking on the Trash Pandas in this game and moving on to play against the Purple Huskies. So it's tough for me to choose Avocarbos in this case. Maybe if there was a case where they'd be playing against the Beach City Bombers, I think they would have had a way better chance in that game if they were playing each other. But in this case, since they're taking on the Trash Pandas, I just feel like, especially with Mo Wright coming back mid-season, I just feel like Trash Pandas are going to really ride that wave of what they've got. They have experience of taking down really good teams. Obviously, they took down us last season in those playoffs early on. So I think they've got a realistic chance against the Avocarbos, and I think Trash Pandas are going to move on to take on the Purple Huskies.
Gotcha. Yeah, I have a very intriguing matchup. Both these teams do have the same record. Both these teams won all their games against teams that are lower in the standings, except for the Trash Pandas, who did win a game early in the season versus the Yellow Wolves. We'll see. So it should be interesting to see how this goes. So we have the same semifinals going into this. We have the Purple Huskies taking on the Trash Pandas, and the MS Warriors taking on the Yellow Wolves of OC. That last one being a matchup we just saw this past week as well. We'll start off with the Purple Huskies and Trash Pandas. I will say for the Purple Huskies, I have heard there is no Joey Ponder for these Monday games. It looks like he will not be there, so he'll be down at least one player there. So given that info, who do you think is going to win this series and in how many games?
With the Purple Huskies and the Trash Pandas, this becomes now a more intriguing setup for these two teams. In the case that Joey Ponder has actually really picked things up this season. He's been doing a pretty good job for this Purple Huskies team. They usually rely more on True Hendrickson and Drake Hoffman for the most part, so I don't really see a big difference here. We obviously saw Purple Huskies with True Hendrickson, with the walk-off victory in the summer 2023 season playoffs, and that allowed them to move on to the World Series. Trash Pandas on the other side, they're coming off that win against Avocarbos in this case, and with that context, it's just interesting. I think it'll be very close for the most part. I think Purple Huskies will start off with a victory in the first game. Trash Pandas will trade a win there as well in the second game, so I think it'll be even by then. And once we get to the second game, I think it would be close with these two teams. So I've got actually the Purple Huskies moving on.
Okay, interesting picks there. I think a 3-game series is not unlikely for this series. I think it's a very likely thing to happen. But this is a very close series, very interesting series. Of a team who hits a lot in the Trash Pandas going up against a team who's allowed the least number of runs in the whole of OC football in the Purple Huskies. Without Joey Ponder, but they still have True Hendrickson and Drake Hoffman there, both of whom have had some great pitching numbers in this year. Drake possibly a leader for the Cy Young this coming for these awards. We'll talk more more about the awards after the award series is over. Probably have to be that podcast where we talk about stuff because things will happen pretty quick. But you have guys like Drake Hoffman so far had a 1.86 ERA in 29 innings pitched. True Hendrickson had a 3.61 ERA through 23 in the third innings pitched. So that combination is a great combination. We've seen them give some runs at times. Seen them give 5 runs up to the Ellisville C with 4 in the first inning. But for this one, I'm also going to choose the Purple Huskies, even without Joey Ponder. I think they're going to be able to get the job off offensively. I actually have the Trash Pandas winning the first game, coming off the Hot Star beating the Avocamos in Game 1. I think the Trash Pandas are going to beat the Purple Huskies Game 1. But then I have Purple Huskies coming and bouncing back in Game 2 and Game 3. I think eventually they start getting around to the pitching of Blake Fitzgerald and Mo Wright. No, they do throw a lot of the same pitch, so I think eventually they're going to start catching on. Then we start seeing some more of an offensive explosion from the Purple Huskies. So I got the Purple Huskies moving on to the World Series in between this matchup, but I think it's going to be a close series, a good series. I see this one going 3 games.
Okay, well, we both got Purple Huskies moving on to the World Series, so that is our matchup for that one. And then now we go to the other side of things where we've got the LA Wolves, the OC, in the rematch against the MS Warriors. This is a very intriguing one as well because we saw the LA Wolves, the OC, really trade punches with the MS Warriors throughout the season. Obviously, the last one, the LA Wolves, the OC, had the better of the MS Warriors in their last matchup. So we have a lot of different expectations, I believe, for this game. But let's start off with you since I started off. Who you got with the LA Wolves OC versus the MS Warriors?
Yeah, this is a long time rivalry. Especially even really since the started especially getting more and more in the spring of 2023. But even in the fall 2022, we played each other a couple times. A little bit different team the MS Warriors were, and even we were as well. We had some whoosh guys on our team, and they had guys like some Drake Hoffman and stuff on there. But this is a very interesting matchup. We just saw this past week, obviously, in which the LOC were able to hit both Dylan and Hayden well, and put up 13 runs on them and win a 13-4 game. I'm taking the Louisville C to make it back to the World Series. I think they're going to be hungry. They had a disappointing end to the season last year. I think that's going to be in the back of their minds. Plus the Louisville C have the they do have the weapon in Dustin Staggs. They have the secret weapon that Dylan's not very familiar playing with. They had the most success against Dustin last time they played. Hayden did well against him, but I think this time with the three of the pitchers mixing in there for Louisville C, I think it's going to be too much for the MS Warriors to be able to handle, and I see Louisville C building off that momentum from this last week and going to take on the Purple Huskies in the World Series Finals.
All right, well, you got your pick on that. All right, well, you picked the LA Wolves OC to beat... Wait, right? Okay, yes, you did. You picked the LA Wolves OC. Now I get to make my pick between the MS Warriors and the LA Wolves OC. Just the way the things have been trending, the last few games for the LA Wolves OC, they've really kind of had their ups and downs this season, but they've really picked it up as of late. And then obviously they defeated the MS Warriors at the end of the season to knock them out of the number 1 seed. But obviously the blood's boiling, the pot is steaming for the MS Warriors because of course they want to get revenge and take that dub back from the LA Wolves OC because we know this is such a big rivalry between these two teams. I hate to sound extremely biased, but just looking at the way things have been going, I have to pick my team, LA Wolves OC, to really push through, make it to the World Series, and get up there with the Purple Huskies.
Yeah, do you see this going? What kind of series do you see this going to be? Do you see?
That's right. Well, I do see it as kind of a balancing as well, because obviously these games will be long, well fought, and really pushed for. So I expect the first game to kind of really go the LA Wolves OC's way. Just with the pitching, for the most part, you throw Dustin probably in there, Steven in there, and then you get to the second game. Most likely, the MS Warriors are really going to start picking things up from there. Dylan Hoffman's going to figure out his groove. Shane Hendrickson's going to do his thing. And then once we get to the third game, it kind of just depends where, those two guys are at. And then obviously they don't exactly have a third guy in there unless you really turn to like Matt Horich or whatnot. But if they do decide to go to the last two, I'm sure they'll also have OC. I just feel like there's a lot of depth with the pitching part, unless somehow Jordan Drexler struggles back to where he was like mid-season form. But so far, like as of late, he's been pitching pretty well. So if Dustin and Steven and Jordan Drexler can hang on for real, like I genuinely think that the LA OC will probably take it in the third game.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, we saw this matchup between these two a couple seasons ago in the spring of 2023, where the MS Warriors they're actually the 1 seed versus the LA Wolves OC were the 4 seed, and MS Warriors took game 1, and LA Wolves OC came back, won game 2 and 3, both throwing a shutout each of those 2 games. So it's very interesting to see what's going to happen here. You have a player coach relationship here going on in this game here. Obviously Dylan Hoffman being it's just now. Let's talk about it. I'm wearing the jacket for Westcliff University, the BP jacket, so you guys can check that out. He was just named the head coach for the baseball team over at Westcliff University. So let's give him a little round of applause for that first. 100% deserved. I never had it in, never questioned it, never had it in doubt. But he was my summer manager. Now he's the manager at my school. So maybe I gotta be a little careful here with what I do. But I think it's gonna be a great battle between these teams. It's I think it was big for Dylan to pick up Shaden back in the off season again. Even if you had to lose a couple guys like Joey Ponder and Kyle Froome, but I think with the way the LA Wolves are trending right now, I think they see the ball well off of Shaden, and I think they've seen the ball better as of late off of Dylan, especially guys like Justin, Jordan, and Dylan getting a good number of hits off of Dylan, and then even our last game, I was right there on everything. I was just missing everything, trying to change styles from slow pitch from fast pitch to slow pitch again. So that's my thoughts on it. That's what we got for the World Series. We both have the same predictions for the World Series, which should take place on Tuesday night. You got the Purple Huskies taking on the LA Wolves of OC. Before I get into the picks, I should let you know there's something that could influence your pick. We talked about Joey Ponder possibly not being there most likely not going to be there on Monday for the Purple Huskies. It sounds like on Tuesday, there's a good chance that Drake Hoffman will be there on Tuesday if they make it to the World Series. So that could mess things up a little bit for them if they were to make it there. But given the fact we both have them making it there. What's your prediction for the World Series winner?
Well, so we've got the Purple Huskies versus the LA Wolves at OC. Like you just said, Joey Ponder may potentially not be there. Drake Hoffman may not be there. The other intriguing thing is that Joey Ponder also has a team participating in the Purple League. So depending,
as does Kyle Froome.
Yeah, and it depends. Like obviously they have to pick and choose if they make it in both of those championship games. Actually, no, they will. I'm sorry. So I am for sure the priority is Purple Huskies. Going off of Drake's type of thing, it's that is definitely going to be a big impact because we've seen Drake really pick things up this season in terms of the pitching, the hitting as well. He's really become this key piece to this team on both sides. It would be really interesting just to see how they compensate for that loss if he is not able to make it. But we've heard news that like True Hendrickson in the summer wasn't going to be able to be there either, and then all of a sudden he came out there and then came up with a walk-off home run to beat his brother's team in the playoffs, and then they move on to the World Series. So I'm not gonna leave it up to chance. I'm gonna analyze this the way if we had Drake Hoffman there. So I believe genuinely that the Purple Huskies have enough ability to fight with the LA Wilson OC better than the MS Warriors, most likely, because the last game that the LA Wilson OCU and Purple Huskies played each other, very tight game. I hit a ball towards right field that if it dropped in would have been a tie game. But then Drake Hoffman flew over and caught that ball, supposedly, and ended the game with that catch. And to me, I feel like they have better depth with the pitching than the MS Warriors do. Drew Hendrickson has got really good MVP experience. Obviously, they have Drake, like I'm analyzing like that. He's there. And then Joey Ponder has also been doing a better job with the pitching in terms of as well. And they have some really good hitting pieces too. So I genuinely believe that once we get to Tuesday, as the case that this is being in, that the LA Wilson OC will make it competitive the first game. I think that one's just kind of up in the air for me, honestly. And then the second game just kind of depends on the longevity of those pitchers. So if I'm being forced to choose here, I would the way things trending with these guys, I would say the LA Wilson OC probably would definitely take this one, but it won't be easy. It won't be easy to just win this entire series. They're going to have to go through 3 games, 18 innings respectively the entire way. It's going to be a fight pretty much to the very end.
Okay, so just so we're clear, you do have the LA Wilson OC winning?
I do have the LA Wilson OC winning.
What, in 2 or 3 games?
3 games.
All right, we got the homer over there taking his home team. What a surprise!
You know, after not taking them last spring, I've willfully decided to change my mindset about this team because I know their ability to play late, and I know things are really picking up. And I know this sounds extremely biased, but just the way things are really trending on this team, it's just hard for me to like really say. And if we get to this point in the World Series, it's really hard for me to say that they're not going to just sit down and let you really roll over them.
Yeah, that is true. We'll see how Dustin not being there for a few weeks, how he readjusts and how he balances the scales and things like that. You've put me in a tough spot because I don't want to look like the homer now, because in the spring I was the homer, and you had your own team getting knocked out in the semifinals, and I had us winning it all.
Yes,
and your boy was right. This put me in a bit of an awkward situation because I can see both of these teams winning it. Right now, I'll make the Army. Of course, like personally, I would want the LA Wilson OC to win. Obviously, who wouldn't want their own team to win?
I mean, I do want to point out that when Ryan was here, he also made his prediction too. So you're not the only one that made a prediction on this.
Yeah. It's just a little tougher now with someone else. I'm going with your own team. It makes an interesting look for the podcast. I'll try to analyze this one a little bit myself before I make my final decision, because I'm still trying to think about it a little more right now.
You're trying to give the audience a good reason to say, yeah, that would make sense, right?
Well, who knows what I'll pick? But this matchup between these, if this were to happen between these two teams, this would be a great matchup. They played each other twice in the regular season. Purple Huskies took both of them, although both of them were very close games. First one ended up 2-1 in a walk-off home run by Drake Hoffman. A little bit of a mistake. And just not able to catch a ball that barely went over the outfield cones. And in the second game, LA was supposed to see we're up 5-2 in the 6th inning, and my arm started hurting. I tried pitching through it and couldn't find the accuracy, and we lose when they lost that one 6-5. So these two teams have been right in battle with each other. Pretty low-scoring games. I expect that to be kind of the same with the World Series. LA supposed to have been able to hit true a little bit. I think Drake's will be definitely a lot more harder. So him missing is a key factor. I think if Drake was there, I think I would have already picked like Purple Huskies to win, but I think it's a little more difficult with the possibility of him not being there. Although it's like you never know if he won't be there. I'm sure he's trying to move stuff around, or maybe he'll be a little late. Who knows? Well, on the opposite side, the Purple Huskies have also started to see myself, Steve, and Hayden well. In the first game, they had the 2 runs they scored were off of me. In that second game, it was a little bit more. I was walking people, and then they were getting singles. They weren't getting any home runs off of me, but I gave up 4 or 5 runs of the 4 or 5 of the 6 runs of that game. So they were starting to see me a little better. So that's a little bit worrying for both sides. Some of your top pitchers, both teams are starting to see a little better. But I think having Dustin Staggs out there could make a big difference. They only saw him the Purple Huskies only saw Dustin for a couple innings in the first game, and they didn't score a run off him. They might have had 1 hit off of him. I can't remember for sure, but the Purple Huskies do have a great shot of doing it. It's just gonna be how much are they going to be able to produce at the plate. Off of guys like Steve, are they able to take advantage of Steven and Jordan and find a way to get around Dustin or not? I think that pitching wise and defense wise, they don't have too much to worry about. They have the experience from the Summer World Series. If Drake is there on Tuesday, I will pick the Purple Huskies. But if that's gonna be my caveat. I'm gonna have a caveat for this one. If Drake is there on Tuesday, pick the Purple Huskies to win. But if Drake is not there, then I'll pick the LA Wolves of OC to win that. That's kind of the caveat. I think Drake's kind of the X factor here, especially with his pitching ability. Only I have had some success off of it, but nobody else on the LA Wolves of OC team has had a lot of success versus Drake, and neither has really anyone else in the league except for me. So that's going to be very interesting to see, but I could see another heartbreaker like for the Purple Huskies last in the summer, where they're missing Shaden Hendrickson and they end up losing the World Series in 3 games. That could be a big effect if Drake is in fact not there.
Yeah, and you do bring up a really good point. It just kind of really depends whether Drake is present on that Tuesday or not, because he's such an integral piece of that team. It's just hard to imagine them really keeping up with a really strong team in the LA Wolves OC on that pitching side. If they don't have Drake Hoffman, they're gonna have to really figure out some pieces. But if he is there, like for my prediction as well, it's very skewed just depending on what little moments and details that both teams are able to manage. When it comes to the big moments, it just really depends on those big momentum changers. Even it could be even the littlest thing like a drop pop fly or a single or walk. It just really depends on one of those things really going either way for both of these teams. And like my prediction could have also literally just gone for the Purple Huskies, but I made a point that it's going to be close throughout 3 games. Like no matter how well you look at it, it just depends on how well their players are going to be able to manage expectations, manage small little things, and really try to go out there with a mindset to want to win.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those top 3 seeds in the Division I playoffs are very close, and I can see either one of those 3 teams winning. It's just it's a little bit of a shame one of the teams is going to have to get knocked out in the semifinals, but this finals could be very interesting. So those are our predictions for the Division I playoffs, and that wraps up all the predictions we had for all the playoffs. If you want to listen back and you have some for a reasoning, you can go ahead. If you got some issues with our picks, that's too bad. Those are just our opinions.
You can come find us on Monday.
You can, and we have no problem with people proving us wrong in this one. We're just taking our best educated guess based off what we've watched the whole year, looking at the stats and the standings and stuff like that. But you have Glizzy Gladiators winning, I have the Sheeps winning, and you have Whoosh winning the first time. I got the OC Seals, and then you definitely have. I kind of have the Wolves OC winning their second title in the OC football in the first and the first for all these teams in the division era. So we'll see how things shake out as we get into the playoffs this coming Monday. Just a day or two, or maybe it's today. I'm not sure when this podcast is going out, but that'll be coming out real soon.
100%. And, if anybody's got questions at all about those, I mean, in particular, I'm 0-2, you're 2-0. So it's only fair that, we don't pick the same thing. And there's good reasons behind it, just off of analyzing how seasons go, how stats go, how the little things go. So, and again, this whole league is really just for fun. So there's no reason to really take it that seriously. It's just, we're just trying to give something to at least stir the pot a little bit and just really, have some fun with these predictions. That's the most part. So not trying to start anything up with anybody. That essentially we're just trying to have a little bit of fun, putting this on the record sheet and keeping track of this kind of stuff. So nothing against anybody, but again, congrats to everybody who's made it to the playoffs. Congrats, thank you to all the teams who played this throughout this entire season. We wish everybody good luck this playoffs, and we'll just see how these games go Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, anything can happen. Who knows what's gonna take place here in these playoffs? May see some old faces break out and do well, or may see a new team that no one's expected come out of the blue and do something people not even us would have expected. So can't wait to see it. And just excited for stuff. Excited to see where this goes, and then we got the next season starting up soon on October 24th. That's when the winter season starts. The discount has been extended until the first day of playoffs, Monday the 16th. So if you haven't signed up yet, make sure you do get that discount in before the price goes up officially. And then from that point on, that's about all the playoff talk we got.
Yeah, that'll do it for the Orange County Wiffle Ball playoffs. We have given you our predictions, our insights, and of course, thank you to Ryan for also giving us some. But now we can get into our next part, which we gave a preview in last week's episode, which is talking about the UWIFs tournament with Stephen Hayden, and our special guest Dustin Skaggs will be on with us on this show. We got a lot of stories, and I'll try to show some clips if that Steven has shared with me, and we'll get everything analyzed about the UWIFs.